You know, there are a number of them. I mean, we're a business entity in many respects. Obviously, Penn State's a 115, $120 million operation, but we live within the context of the academy, of the educational confines, and sometimes there are obviously competing interests there. But I would say that the biggest challenge, and it comes somewhat from that dichotomy though, is the number of stakeholders we serve. I mean, you can get up into the 20s and 30s without having to think too hard about numbers of stakeholders who all have a stake, or certainly believe they have a stake in intercollegiate athletics, and that their interests, their values are the most important ones, and they're our priority. And that's sometimes really difficult and challenging to juggle. Well, there's no doubt. The reward is the students, getting to see them grow. We get them at a very formative time in their lives, 17 to 22, and sometimes those challenges during that time in their life are exactly that, challenges, but we get to see them 5 years, 10 years, 15 years later with families and professions, and sometimes they come back and they say, now I understand what you were trying to teach me. So their growth and development and the rewards for them professionally and personally, with given the tools and the things that they learned during their time here, during their time on our campuses, or there's nothing like that. There are a number of them, you develop skills and you develop experience more than anything over time, and there are times when the light bulb goes off and goes, oh, that's how I should have handled that. But certainly listening. The ability to listen, particularly when you're new to the profession or you're new in the career, and you want everybody to know that you've got great ideas and great expertise, and you don't always spend the proper time listening. So that comes over time, but that's really, really important, the ability to listen. I also think being what I call situationally flexible. We all want to make decisions and hold the line and be tough and this and that, but we're managing, in the case of Penn State, we're managing 850 student athletes, and obviously all that comes with them, and we've got a large department from an employee standpoint, 300 plus, and there's no one size fits all, and so you do have to be willing to make decisions based on situation and be situationally flexible. Uh, See, that's one of the things I love about this job, always have, is that the everyday work is so diverse. But I think if you had to pinpoint one thing, it kind of all leads back to balancing the fact that we are a business entity. We do have to balance the books, and yet we're also an educational entity. So balancing those kinds of things around providing proper resources for the educational pursuit, for the growth and development of student athletes, and at the same time, what's the business elements of that. I think 75 or 80% of what I do every day somehow comes back to that balance. I've been really fortunate because I've had great mentors, and people in this business are so willing to help and to share. So there's been a lot along the way, but I think probably the singular best piece of advice I've ever gotten is, don't let the highs take you too high, and don't let the lows take you too low. Try to find kind of a medium in there. For me, I think the don't let the highs take you too high has been the harder part. When you're fortunate enough to have some success and not let that really sweep you up. But by not letting you get swept up in the highs, it gives you the opportunity not to let the lows get you too low. But I think that's definitely the best advice I've ever had. Um, I don't think we've got the 5 or 6 hours in this video that I need to devote to that. But no, I think it's about being patient. There's so much to learn in this business. It's so multifaceted. Again, one of the reasons that I love being in intercollegiate athletics. There's so many aspects to it and so much to learn. And we can't learn a job or a place in a year or even 2 years. So I think patience, real persistence and resilience, and have a really healthy appetite for work, because that's certainly what this business takes. Well, the ability to communicate both in writing and verbally is just, I think, so important. I think another key, absolute key to success is align yourself with people and institutions or organizations that match your values. I think that's incredibly important, not only to your success, but kind of your well-being and your happiness within the position. And then finally, figure out how to follow your passion. And that, I think, goes along with the values alignment. But follow your passion, because then the work that's required to do this won't seem like work. Well, that's a really great question for me, because I'm kind of a tech geek in terms of the gadgets, and but I also don't necessarily have the depth and breadth of knowledge as to how to use them. I like to have them, but I think it's important from an efficiency standpoint, and I think there's so many great things that have happened along the way with applications and ways for us to be more efficient. But it's also it's also been kind of a bane for us, because none of us are ever disconnected anymore, whether it be our smartphones or our iPads or whatever. But in terms of keeping up with it, I think it's a matter of being interested in it and being open to it. There's so much out there that you can either read about or work with your IT folks or work with your video folks on, or those kinds of things. So I think it's a matter of being open to and interested in, and then the information is all there. Well, first of all, I'm not sure there is any such thing as work-life balance in what we do. I call it the balance of imbalance. But I do think it's really important to get away. And as I talked about with the smartphones, and really being disconnected is difficult in this day and age for us. But I've got a couple of puppy dogs that it's great to go out and clear your head and take them on a hike, and or just take them out for a run. I like to play golf. That's the kind of the one place you supposedly can't use your cell phone and those kinds of things. So it's a matter of getting away with friends and family. And having lived in Northern California for 10 years, wine country kind of became my friend a little bit. So that was always a great place to escape. So it's about figuring out a place to get away, even if it's just for a couple hours, and clear your mind a little bit and step away. As I mentioned previously, I've had some incredible mentors, people that really were my champions. Very early on in my start in the Big Ten at Northwestern in the early '80s, there were a number of women who were who were the SWAs in that conference at that time, that took an interest in me. Probably the most fervent interest of those was Phyllis Bailey at Ohio State. Who really took a great interest in me, and then from there, certainly Ted Leland, who was the associate athletic director at Northwestern when I got hired there. Eventually became the AD at Stanford. Was the AD at Stanford when I went to Cal. But the influence for me, both professionally and personally, because he's like a brother, is Kevin White. Kevin was the AD that hired me at Tulane in the early '90s, and then I went to work for him again in the 2000s at Notre Dame. We've remained friends, strong professional professional colleagues. We bounce a lot of stuff off each other, but he was clearly my champion and has influenced me to a great degree. You know, I think that they've been around, certainly around resources, and I think a lot of that has been really positive in terms of the kinds of opportunities that we provide for our student athletes, the quality of care, the quality of opportunities for them. The flip side of that has been the commercialization, has been kind of the pressure we put on coaches and student athletes, and a little bit of the professionalization. I mean, I think we can certainly put things around them in terms of sponsorships and signage and television, but what really matters is their day-to-day experience, and I certainly hope as an industry that we continue to, or that we actually even do a better job of protecting that. I think we're really at a crossroads, and we've been saying that for about 30 years now, probably the entire time I've been doing this. But the money is such, the amounts of resources that intercollegiate athletic programs are putting into, are investing in their student athletes and investing in college programs is huge. It's no longer rounding errors in university budgets, and so I think we're at a point where we've got some really serious decisions to make. Obviously, there are outside influences at this point, whether they be Congress or whether they be the law and some of the lawsuits that we're facing. I think we're at a crossroads, and I think we need, as educational institutions, need to decide what we want to be and what we're about. What's our why? Why are we here? And I think if we answer that in a very clear and distinct way, I think we'll know what direction that we go in. And I certainly hope that we continue to hold the educational process and the commitment to educational opportunities to our student athletes as the number one our number one priority. It's hard though. I don't deny that it's really difficult given the financial pressures and given the amounts of money that we're talking about here, but I hope that we can hold that line.